because it'd be great to really fine tune this experience. I have a couple of things coming up where, you know, I've been doing live workshops. I'm using Zoom, this format, to do these sessions with you and follow up with my course students. So we'll talk more about that at the end. I want to get to what we have planned today. And then the newest thing that I've been brainstorming is study groups, because after I had a one-on-one session last month with one of the winners from a giveaway I did with my beginner students, someone reached out to me saying she'd actually like some one-on-one options or small group, little focus groups. So I just wanted to share that at the end. We'll talk about what works for a lot of you and then what I'm thinking. So you can just kind of see what's to come. So going to switch my screen over here. We'll try to keep it short and sweet today. I usually hit the 1 hour mark, and these initially started out as my half hour, just keeping you learning and practicing. So we'll try to keep it between 30-45 minutes. So let me talk about what I have here. If you saw in my email, I talked about sharing different ways to write some greetings during this time of the year. You know, whatever you celebrate, even if, you know, it's, you know, what if you're doing Christmas or whatever, you can also take away just different style and formatting ideas. Okay, you could easily swap this out for happy birthday or have a great day. So with that said, let me just kind of give you a preview here. The way I'm going to run this through is literally just walk you through my process. This version I should have put sooner up here. So what I'm going to do today is literally walk you through how I would start from a phrase and then come up with different ways to create that. Okay, so I'll be keeping an eye in the chat, or you can unmute yourself at any time if you have questions or just want me to clarify something. Okay, and for those of you wondering, this is my John Neal copper plate pad, which I've been just absolutely loving. I would say it's not the smoothest for your brush pens, so I'm kind of careful which pens I use on this paper, but it's so nice to have the guidelines drawn in, and this is sort of at that 2:3 ratio guideline height, that ratio we talked about before. You can also think of it as if this is 1 unit, remember, this is about 1.5. So it's kind of nice because it's not too compressed and not too tight either, not too elongated. And then my second guide sheet that I'm going to be using is the other copper plate graph pad. Same idea, but this word here, graph, because it just adds all these extra lines. I don't know, on the screen it kind of looks washed out, but this has been really nice too. Okay, and if you do have a pen that's really flexible and you don't want to use the roughness of this, you can always use some kind of marker paper or thin paper to place on top. Okay, you all know this, just a nice little refresher and idea of what I'm going to be doing. Okay, so I'm going to take this phrase, happy holidays. If you can think of another phrase you want to do, we could squeeze it in. I'll try to take a couple of suggestions. So for now, let me just show you my thought process. So first, if you are new to trying to do formatting or adding some style, I just write out the word. So go ahead and write out your word. You can do happy holidays with me, or you can do a phrase of your own. Okay, so first step is just to sketch it out. If you are already beyond the basics and you don't want to do just a plain script like this, and you want to go ahead and do flourishing or do bounce lettering, then I would identify any of these ascenders and descenders. So sometimes I just circle them, so I kind of keep my eye on them. Okay, so I'm just trying to analyze the space that I have to use here. Okay, I have some empty space here next to the Y, a lot of space up here, which is kind of difficult to use because I don't have any ascenders. Here's going to be tricky because look at all of these descenders, P, P, and Y. So that'll be something tricky to use. There's always space in the beginning of the word and the end of the word, okay? So just kind of getting you to identify these different spaces to use, okay? So moving on, what I did in my example is I just wrote it in a regular script, okay? And when I say regular script, you know, all of the basic strokes you've seen, the letters you've seen. Some of you might not have dived into capitals yet, okay? So I tried to keep this H pretty simple. So just a horizontal lead-in stroke, which is just a curved line, okay? On its side, it looks like it's just horizontal because if you were to fill in some ovals here, some imaginary ovals, those ovals are horizontal. See the axis of those ovals here? So see how they're horizontal to my baseline. This is my baseline here. Okay, so quick little, a few tips for capitals. So let me do that again. So horizontal stroke, and then I'm going to use my capital stem, which is a hairline, a full pressure stroke, and then I exit with a hairline. And I'm going to add a little terminal dot here. And then I just crossed it again with that horizontal cross, but then I'm going to bring this stroke here up into what you know as the ascending stem loop, right? And then I'm going to curve back upward because I'm going to lead into my A for happy, okay? So imagining here, if this is my, I'm going to use this space here as my X height. So that's why I didn't bring this all the way up to my X height, which would be right here, because I'm leading into that curved stroke. So my A. And then there's so many different ways to do the P. I just did a full pressure stroke twice. So just to keep it really simple. And then I did my P. So many different ways to do the letter P. You can take your pick or you can copy mine here. And then I did something different. Instead of coming out from below, from the baseline into my Y, I actually brought that stroke up above here, something that I've seen some other calligraphers do that I thought I'd use here. So I just used a hairline here and sort of like what you do in an overturn. And then I made my, and then it turned into a compound curve for my Y. And there's happy. And then I don't know if we could squeeze in holidays. Let's just try because we're keeping it simple. So I actually brought that horizontal stroke a little bit, even though it overlaps like vertically, you could see how it's kind of overlapping with this Y. But that's okay because I'm going to not really use too much space. See how I kind of end it here? So visually, they're still two separate words, but they do come pretty close. Okay, so let's go ahead and write holidays so you can get into the fun variations. So here I'm just writing all the letters that you've seen at some point with me. And I'm writing really big. I should keep it a little compressed here. Squeezing in holidays. Okay, so we're going to keep it simple and just end with an exit stroke there. So from here, this is what I'm talking about. This is nice to do that sketch. I'm going to go ahead and use my pencil and let's play around with different ways we can flourish this, okay? That's my next example here. So you'll see how I did a flourishing example. So if you're ready to do some flourishing, some beginner tips for flourishing, I would keep most of my lowercase letters on my baseline here. I wouldn't necessarily mix bouncing and flourishing at the same time if you're not comfortable with either one. So let's do the flourishing first. So let's find some simple ways to flourish. So for one, I like the descenders a lot. So let's focus on these Ys. What can we do with the Ys? Because you know, when you're going in this downward motion, it's just so natural to probably extend this Y. You could bring this out like this. That's considered a flourish because you're extending your strokes. Anytime you are extending a stroke or manipulating it in any way, we're entering the realm of flourishing. So let me demo what that Y just alone looks like. So here I have my, that compound curve that went into the Y. And then you're going to pull your whole hand down, or if you can reach with just moving the meaty part of your hand across your page. So see how I'm planting my hand down, but I'm kind of pushing and pulling my pen. So that Y would look like this. Instead of finishing in that narrow loop, then I'm going to bring it a little bit further out. And then I'm going to add this curve here. Those curves are really nice because if you don't have that curve, it just looks really flat, right? You don't want to end like that. So that's where this kind of hump up here and then dip just even below a little bit comes in. So that's one way, just a very simple extra touch. I mean, we could just leave it like that. I would just be careful where you're touching the P here. I would keep this at a hairline the whole way. If I'm going to add a heavy stroke, it would be right here. And then I would just keep this all at a hairline. That would make it okay to cross that P, okay? So let's use my handy dandy eraser here. Oh, I just have a huge one. I don't know where my smaller ones are. They're under my messy desk somewhere here. Okay, let's do another one. Let's do one more descending flourish. Another fun one is to bring this lower here. And this is what I did in this example. So see here in this Y on the happy, I brought this down. I went a little bit lower because I want to give myself some space. And then I still kept it relatively compressed, but I shot it really far to the right and then made this oval to the right. Okay, so that's another fun flourish. And while we're here, why don't we do one more? I know I just said one more. Let's do this one here is what I did on the other example. I brought it lower and I just continued with that motion. I went out to my horizontal oval and then I kicked it all the way through and did what is a very large compound curve here. So anytime you hear compound curve, we're switching directions. So you'll notice that I'm going down, dipping down, and then I'm coming up. So this here is a curve. And I'll show you what those both look like. It's really fun to add some pressure. Here I would add some pressure on the right side and then keep it at a hairline. Here I would add some pressure on the right side and then maybe a little touch on the end. That's what I like personally doing. So that's going to look like this. So I have the first one, just your regular Y, my compound curve, and then my loop, but then I'm going to keep going with that hairline. I can add a little bit of pressure if you want to the right, you don't have to, and then bring that in here. It's nice if you can aim to bring this cross here. If you could try to split this stem like from here to here, if you were to think of this as one big oval, it'd be nice if you could cut that in half, but mine stayed pretty low. You also don't want to force it, so just kind of go where you naturally are making that curve, but just some kind of things to keep in mind. Maybe I could have gone out a little bit more and then brought that in here. So see how I'm cutting it at a different spot. So just kind of play around with that. See how different oval shapes you can create. And then the next one here is, oh, you know what? I got to start further to the right. Let me use a different color so it stands out because I need space on the left. So let's do my compound curve. Then I'm going to make that oval on the right. And then I can usually just push my fingers through. I'm keeping that meaty part of my hand on the table and I'm pushing. Okay, the nice thing with our brush pens is they can take a little bit of manipulating. So I can from this position here just push over and add a little bit of pressure. Okay. And again, you can kind of see how I'm just really focused on creating these oval shapes, okay? Okay, I gotta crank it up a little bit because now somehow we already passed 20 minutes. So hopefully that was helpful for just like a quick flourish to your Ys there. Another way that you can flourish is, actually, let's keep this Y here. What I did with the P is I started with a hairline, and this is what we call that capital stem that you saw here in my H. I'm using that shape to create the first P. And you can just stop here if you want. So see how I'm extending the lines? Or you can bring that and just do a horizontal oval to the opposite side. It's kind of a nice little mirror image to this Y. And you'll notice that I would keep this P either pretty simple, or I could also add that capital stem, but to not be so busy, I might just end it here. So see how I'm filling the space, but I'm being conscious of what letters are next to my you know, the ones that I'm flourishing. So let me just show you what that looks like before I move on. So that would be, here's my H. And if I'm ever off camera, can you guys let me know? Just stop me, tell me. Okay, so here's my A. So keeping that letter pretty simple. You don't have to flourish every letter, and you really shouldn't flourish every letter. Usually these smaller letters I keep just plain and simple. So here is I'm going to go a little bit higher than my X height. Here's my P, first P. Let's do the second one. And I'm going to my I, just so you know, when I'm creating this here, I'm keeping an eye on that first stem and trying to keep it pretty even, okay? Don't worry about it being so perfect, but that's one kind of nice way to keep it pretty consistent. And our eyes really notice that empty space, so we want to keep it pretty nice and even. And then for this Y here, I'm going to do that horizontal oval. And while I'm doing that, I'm keeping my eye on the bottom here and trying to keep them pretty evenly aligned there. So happy holidays. I'll show you what I did with the D on on one of the examples below. I just brought this D up and over. What did I do? I have to peek over. Okay, and then I brought that around and through. Okay, so that's a really fun cut that you can do to your stroke. So a good way to do that, because you don't want this this very blunt edge, it doesn't transition well into a hairline. What you'll want to do is, when you get to that D, instead of starting with a full pressure stroke, start at a hairline and then add your pressure. Okay, so then I think I did days, DA, et cetera, then come back in. Don't start at the very tip. Come back a little bit to trace and then go upwards and then finish with your stroke. Okay, don't worry about being shaky. I am shaky all the time. I want you at this point to get used to these shapes and the direction and the movement. Okay. And if adding shade is a little difficult too, try to keep the whole thing at a hairline. I think that's easier in the beginning when you're practicing these shapes. And then you can always go back in and add a little bit of shade if you want. I would add it here where I would naturally go downward. Okay. And then as I'm creating this shape, I'm thinking about an oval. See how you have this oval shape here, and you have this oval, this horizontal looking oval. Okay, they're not perfect ovals, in case you're wondering, you know, they look kind of pinched at one side. It's just we're imagining the oval and going around them. Okay, and keeping that open space. What you want to avoid is something like this, where I keep things too tight and there's no space to, you know, so see how the problem with this example here is this is just so tight and it's not really balanced with the other open spaces. So you want to open up that first stroke a little bit larger. And then I went down too low. And for me, this is too tight for my liking. So I would have liked to bring this up higher so I can turn sooner. So when I say turn sooner, see the bottom of this stroke, whereas this stroke comes really low and almost touches the D, okay? All right, I'm going to, before I walk you through these two examples, are you enjoying this lesson so far? Is this helpful? Can you let me know in the chat or give me a thumbs up? Are you enjoying this? Do you want more focus with flourishing? I know that's really a big desire for a lot of us. I hope these are nice little introductions to flourishing. Okay, awesome. Thanks for the feedback. Okay, so here I thought it would be nice to show you two examples. I'm just going to talk you through these ones so I can get moving to hopefully show you one more example, another phrase, I mean. So here I took one word and I really focused on it first. And then I just added this little happy here. I've been liking doing this lately where I find shapes where I can echo it with a second shape and kind of create like a little banner. That's been really fun. It doesn't always happen well, and I kind of have to plan it ahead of time. Like if I were to do this, the H on this example, then I would have tried to make this even larger maybe here, and then I could make a banner here, okay? And you all, I do not consider myself like a sketch artist or an illustrator by any means. I think it's really a challenge, but if I can do this, you can do this. It just takes some practice and going really slow and keeping an eye on this space. And I want this even because that's how I can fit in my letter. So don't think you have to have some amazing drawing skills. It's just really taking what we know. Okay, so we created this first line, so how can we create this line and then keep that even so that way I have space to write in my word. Okay, and then another quick tip that I want to share is a long time ago I learned from Sean McCabe, a letterer. He said we push straights. This is like a really random tip, but I hope it's helpful. When we're creating straight lines, it's easier to push them. So meaning push away from your body. And then when we do curves, it's easier for curves. So push for the straight lines and curves, you're going to pull, okay? So what that means is if I'm making a curved line, for some reason, it's easier to pull toward our body. See that? So give that a try real quick. Notice how you can make a straight line pretty, a lot easier when you push away. If you try to pull towards your body, it just gets a little shaky. In a small area, you could do it pretty straight, but if you're creating like a really large stroke, it's just really challenging. And I think that's what makes those full pressure strokes harder to keep straight. And then our curves are easier to pull. So why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because if you're having trouble with this curved line, don't push it away from your body. I would even turn my paper so that now I'm pulling this curve. Okay, so if I have my first curve here and I'm trying to add that little banner, I would move my paper all the way around so that, and then imagine yourself drawing that curve, then I would have it so that my curve I'm pulling toward my body. So now when I do this, it's a little bit easier to trace, okay? So little off subject, but still related, helpful tip there, okay? So you'll see that I just flourished this first letter and spent a lot of time sketching out my flourishes. Where can I add some extensions? And then I added the word here. For this example, I kept holidays really simple. I did this tiny flourish here, but then I inserted happy in a more elongated, stretched out script, which you can see here. And I'm not going to demo this because you've seen this before in workshops and courses. And I'll just point out that, remember, we're extending the connections here. So these are a little bit more off of the slant because they're so pulled out, but I'm keeping my letters pretty tight within themselves, okay? So what you don't want to do is have this large, beautiful extension, and then I'm going to extend my H. That's not the beauty of the extension script. So I I would keep the H together here and then extend how you leave that letter and then create the A. And again, with the A, I'm keeping my oval pretty tight and then I'm extending that exit stroke, okay? All right, I saw one suggestion and I don't know how to say that, Amy. I'm pretty sure that's Merry Christmas in Hawaiian. And so I'm going to have to write that one out. So you're really going to see my process walking through because I don't write this one. I've probably written it once before. So I think it's Mele, but I don't know how to say the rest, M-E-L-E. And I don't know if there's an accent mark anywhere. Amy, if you're still there, go ahead and clarify for me. K-A-L-I-K-I. I have an aunt in Hawaii and she said, it's so easy to speak Hawaiian. You just pronounce the letters how they look. So let's see, Mele Kalikimaka, I would say. Okay.
Charisse.
Yeah, hi Amy.
Hey, it's Amy. Yeah, there's no different punctuation, and I believe it's Mele Kalikimaka. I don't know.
Yeah, okay,
Kalikimaka?
cool.
Yeah.
I don't think we're far off. That sounds
Yeah,
good.
yes, exactly. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so let's play around with this. Let's maybe add some flourishing. So let's do it just in a standard script first here. Okay. And I just realized this whole time I didn't spotlight my video. I'm really hoping the recording captured my screen the whole time. So I will have to see the playback after this. Okay, so M is an entry that is a little bit off of my slant. And then I'm going to have this hairline, add some pressure, and I'm going to curve back out. And then my pressure there. So let's just do a very standard one. I think that's helpful, especially in the beginning of doing these intermediate and advanced steps. Just to remember, every time I'm teaching, I tell you you build these steps, okay? So it's hard to jump right in. So we're just gonna do this example first. And a standard Kali. So this second word has a lot of ascenders for us to play around with. Kali, ki. And then this last K has a lot of space to its left. So we could probably do something there, trying to think ahead. And then this M is missing a terminal dot. That would just kind of finish that letter here. Okay, dot RI. Okay, so let's see what we could do here. So this L is pretty much all we have on this side. So the most I would do is either bring this flourish back and maybe stop here. You could do something like we did with the D, but I would be careful because if you extend it too far out, then we may hit into the space for our K. So that's as simple as I would kind of keep the L. I'm gonna not actually use any space at the bottom since we don't have any descenders. Let's not force the space, okay? You could, but let's just keep that empty for now. This K we could flourish in this area. You could either bring this in here. That's just a really nice simple touch. You can flourish the entrance here. Let's see, what would I do? You could extend that. There we go. We could extend this into sort of two ovals kind of stacked onto each other. And then here, I'm going to keep this first one. Let's see, let's do these last. Let's use this flourish. I mean, this ascender is a really fun way. One of my favorite ways to use this kind of an opportunity to use this space on the left is to bring this out really far, okay? You can even go further if you want. And then kind of like you saw with the Y, you can end here, or you can keep going and finish that oval and then create an oval up top here. So many fun ways to use that space. So let's go ahead and leave that. This K, I don't know, I might just keep this one in the middle. I don't want to over flourish. That's one thing that I personally just feel that less is more. You can do this, you could do the same thing as that first L that we did here. I don't know if going through these is just too much. I think it just might be too much, but if you did, I would just keep it at a hairline. So see how I'm going through these letters? And as long as it doesn't come off like a T, I think that's totally a fun way to flourish, okay? So let's go ahead and write this. I'll just go ahead and demo that while we're at it, because you can see from this example how to keep it simple. And then this one will just be like that next level type of letter, okay? All right, here we go. I'm gonna skip this space here and go down a little bit lower so I don't knock into any of those letters. Oh, and then our M, I wanted to say, we could also flourish this M for sure. Okay, let's just do this flourish here where I'm bringing it a little bit higher and then I'm making an oval. This oval here, the way to imagine how to align this oval, if I were to put an axis in it, like skewer that oval, I can even make it a little bit more on the slant there, okay? So this is why using a pencil is really helpful and good for practicing and troubleshooting, right? So let's do that first M. So here, my capital stem, going to use a hairline stroke here, and then my horizontal oval. I'm trying to keep it, I know I'm writing pretty low, I'm trying to keep it so you can see my example up here. So I'm going to keep the rest of this M pretty simple. You could flourish the top part. I will do that on another day. That takes a lot. What I'm talking about is we could take this third, 1, 2, 3, this third stroke, and you can really shoot it up high. And that's a fun way to flourish. You could finish that down there. Okay, M, E, so my E is simple. My L, I'm going to, again, start here and create my stem, but notice how I didn't use the full pressure because I want an easy transition into my flourish. And then for the K, let's see, I just need enough space to fit that flourish in the between. So I'll go ahead and do the rest of the K first. Okay, let's end there. So what I would do here is, because let's see, I'll do the K first. I'm going to come here at this tip and I'm going to go the opposite direction and dip down for the first oval and then go a lot higher for the second oval. And I say second oval because it's like an imaginary oval, right? You have your first oval here, but you really have this bigger oval, which creates that next stroke. Okay. And then let's use this little space here to do my L. Okay. All right. And then let's do an A. So for my L here, I'm going to keep that also, leave that off for now so I can flourish it later. Same thing with my K, it's finished here, but I'm still going to leave it off. I do that when I'm flourishing just because you never know if I need to modify it, maybe make it shorter, make it larger, due to what I do with other nearby flourishes. Hope that makes sense. It's just kind of, I can always finish it later, but at least it gives me the option to do something different if I need to. And then this A, we didn't do any flourishing with this ending stroke. You definitely could. Just to give you some things to practice, you could just make it a really large exit. I do that sometimes. It's not really you know, the flourishing that you think of, but it's just a nice change in the pace and it's a nice ending. You can bring that up above. We're gonna knock into this flourish. I would keep it at a hairline, but you can do that. You could, if you have a lot of space to the right, I like to touch the baseline and then kick it far out to the right, and you can just end there. You could do all kinds of things. You could finish it, and just, again, keeping this in a hairline too. We don't want it to be mistaken for a letter. Or you could even go down below. You could bring this down lower and create a horizontal loop there. So see how the theme is ovals and loops, right? We're just really opening up our space. And then one last one, same idea, but then curving in, that idea of that compound curve, remember? So I'm changing directions. I was coming up above and then I'm switching directions and going into another oval. Okay, we got 5 minutes till my 45-minute mark. So Calligraphy. Let's just keep this relatively simple. Then I'm going to flourish this K here first. Going to go a little bit higher and around. Oh, I have to look at what I did. We brought that in here and used this space. And this second loop I'm doing here, I'm trying to eyeball the height of this top here and not have it totally off. Okay. This K I kept pretty simple, especially because look, I just totally knocked into that space. Sorry, K. And then here I'm going to, and I may not have space to do this. I'm going to go for it and try. Let's see. We'll critique ourselves after. Looks really busy. I don't know that I would love that whole, I would, you know, if I was to do this for a final piece, I would definitely make a few tweaks. So I think this is fine. I feel like, you know, again, your eye sees all of these open spaces and we are drawn to the shades. So just keep that in mind, okay? What that does is it helps us remember to keep our flourishes and our spaces open. But here, see how our eye gets drawn to this really busy spot, and that's what's kind of making me think I could have opened up this space more. Or what we could have done is I could have even, when I finish this, I could have stopped here. And that's one way to avoid that extra stroke down here. So what that would look like is if I have my L, then I had the I would just, you know, if I'm making my K here, then I would just finish it out and very subtly leave it off. Because what's going to happen is what we did with that second, with this L here, is I flourished it up above like this. And then if you keep this, if you end it here with a little slight curve and a hairline, then it's not so busy. Okay, so those are just, that's kind of an idea for you. Oh, I don't know what happened to this. That's an idea for you if you want to avoid this traffic jam that I sort of created myself. I think this is fine. Try to keep these spaces even. Again, see how I kind of have a lot of even space here. I didn't bring this flourish over too tight here, and then it just gets all busy right there in the middle. I really brought it out, okay? And if you want to build into this kind of a flourish, I would just practice with extending this a little and then ending here, okay? End at this spot. You wouldn't end really bluntly. You'd want to end with a nice hairline. But this to me is like next level if you want to add that extra flourish there. Okay. Well, I don't have enough time to do a second example. I will end here, everyone. Thanks for spending your day after Thanksgiving with me. If you're like me, you're tired from yesterday, but it wasn't too bad. We stayed home. We didn't do too much. We did a little walk around our block. And I hope you are all safe and well. If you're out there because you have to for work or, for whatever reasons, be safe. And I want to talk to you really quickly about what's coming up before we go. I have my little notes here. So again, if you're interested in study groups, I would love to know. You don't have to tell me here. I'll just kind of explain them because I'll be sending an email out later. But I don't know, it's just kind of fun to do these intimate little groups on, using Zoom. And then I want to extend our focus into, really feedback driven, really getting to the nitty gritty, all of these like technical ways to practice and build your scripts. Okay, I think sometimes in these workshops that are jam packed, it's easy to get lost and overwhelmed. So the study groups have been something that have been on my mind, and then my intermediate course, which I want to share with a lot of you. Gosh, that just reminds me, I have to work on the discount code because you are all, workshop students and previous members of the beginner course. I want to make sure you guys are, getting in at a great price. I don't want to, I just want to thank you guys for being part of learning with me. So that's opening soon. I have so much to do with that, but I just feel like I need to push myself to make it happen now because I was thinking of postponing again, but I tell you, some of you, oh, I stopped my video. Where am I? Some of you have been waiting for the intermediate course for so long. I mean, we're talking like, oh, there we are. We're talking like from my beginner workshops, just wanting that next level. So I've been doing the intermediate workshop with Kestrel. She's been hosting me over on her site, Learn Calligraphy. But I'm, that's like a live workshop style. I still want to build my own intermediate course where it's self-directed and same format as the beginner course, where you watch the videos and then we come in for a couple of weeks where I follow up with you. So that is kind of all. Jen is asking if the replay will be on YouTube. I'm trying to build, I'm going to send you a replay link. So keep an eye out for that. Because it's on Zoom, I'm not doing it on YouTube Live anymore. I have to save off the replay and then upload it somewhere. So I will do that definitely by either Monday, or I don't know if I could do it tomorrow, but I'll share the replay for sure. Okay. Thank you all. Leslie, can we share Instagram handles for anyone? Oh, that would be fun. That's something I've always wanted to do, like little Instagram exchanges. So yeah, if I don't know if a lot of you are in the Slack group. I need to make these notes. So in our Slack group, if you haven't joined already, Slack is like my new hub for the course. But if you're just a workshop student, I don't think I extended Slack. We're gonna have to think about that. I may have to rethink what we're doing. So yes, Leslie, for the Instagram handles, let's see, Instagram sharing. Oh, okay. Thanks for those of you sticking around. Here's one more thing too. For years, I've been wanting to do an envelope exchange. I don't know if any of you are up for that. It would be, it's sharing personal information, so you'd have to be okay with that first. It would be nice to do, like, pick one other person in our little group to send a note to. That's something fun. I'm going to write that down, envelope exchange. You know what, Leslie? I think for the Instagram sharing, one thing I thought of is doing like a shared Google Doc, because then it's just like a one place reference, and Slack is fun, but it's easy to get lost sometimes in all of the scrolling. So I think maybe a Google Doc that's just kind of like my, all of you alumni, if you've taken a workshop with me or a course, I wanted this reference to, where can I find, other people to connect with? Where can I find some resources? And I can just keep adding to that one file. I think that would be really helpful instead of using a platform where it's like a news feed and you can lose, you'll have to scroll back to past things that we've shared. So anyway, okay, bye everyone. Have a great rest of your weekend. If you are interested in the intermediate course, I would love to have you. I think I'm planning this coming week of sending an email about it, so just keep an eye out for that, or if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see me sharing it. The course run, like our live, where we do weekly check-ins, I'm gonna do that later in February. So my goal is to film the course in between now and January. I'm just taking pre-registration just because a lot of people are I just want in, like, you want in. So I just wanted to make that opportunity available to you, but we won't start the class until February. So there will be a chance. I'm basically saying you don't have to rush and go grab your seat, but there will be time. And then our next monthly training, I have so many things going on now for where I've gotten to that point. Our next monthly training is the day after Christmas. So I want to keep with these monthly check-ins. It's just fun to know that despite whatever's going on, I have this monthly opportunity with you all. And then it'll be cool to just kind of get your suggestions. So anytime I send that live training, that reminder, you can always reply to that and ask me questions or give me suggestions for future trainings. I think the December one will be something kind of looking into the new year. So a prompt that we could do, like today was nice because we have the holidays coming up. So anyway, I feel like I'm rambling. I'll talk to you guys later, everyone. Stay safe. Thank you, everyone. Oh, Stephanie's here, Vicky, Josie. All right, have a great rest of your weekend. And I will, just keep in touch in your inbox. That's the best way that I communicate with you all. And have a good one. Take care.